What's up, guys? So today we're going to go over five myths to getting started in real estate, and they're five big ones. Plus, I'm going to give you an extra couple of them as a bonus. So let's jump right in and get started with number one. This one permeates every video I've seen, and it is probably the number one biggest thing that every broker really pressures their new agents to do. And the first biggest myth is you need to know a lot of people. You need to have a big sphere of influence. It's crap. It's not necessary. You don't need to know a lot of people. You don't need to know any people, and you certainly don't need to have a sphere of influence. Now, to be fair, it helps. It certainly does help. It helps even more if the people you know are all ready to buy a house. It helps even more if the people you know are already qualified for a house, but you don't need to know anybody. So here's the reality. Every agent, depending on their level of success and their goals, is going to have to promote themselves at some point. They're going to have to market themselves. They're going to have to get their name out there, okay? And you're going to have to do it too if you decide to start in this amazing, amazing industry. You're going to promote yourself and market yourself. So if you don't know anybody, you're going to know a lot of people soon because you're going to spend a lot of time putting your name out there, introducing yourself to people, handing out business cards, shaking hands, going door to door. You're going to create your own sphere of real estate-based associations. Okay, they don't have to be friends. They don't have to be people you break bread with, but you're going to get to know a lot of people just by sheer nature of promoting yourself. So if you want to get in this business and you don't know a lot of people, maybe you're someone like me. I have kids. My friends are my kids because all my energy goes into my children. I don't go out and spend a lot of time going to dinners or going to places and doing things. The places I go to are events for my kids, games, plays, musicals, awards things, school-based activities. And so I know some of the parents, but I don't have a large sphere. So I had to build my sphere from scratch. I had to start off and kind of go right from there. I did know some people through my personal training business and the gym that I owned before I got into this business, but I really did not transition that client base into my real estate base. I just didn't feel comfortable doing it because I wanted to build my business on my own merits. And so I've really done that from the beginning. Now I've been doing it for a little while. Now I'm starting to incorporate some of those associations I had from when I had my gym into this business. So number one biggest myth, you need to know a lot of people. You don't. That's junk. You don't need to know a lot of people. You will get to know a lot of people by sheer nature of promoting yourself. So that's number one. Number two, this one's actually kind of funny. Number two is you don't need to have a lot of money to get started in real estate. That's total junk as well. So first off, the classes, depending on what state you're in, the classes are about $400 to $800 roughly. Again, it may change. Your state may be cheaper, it may be more expensive, but that's what I've seen ballpark rough amount. So classes are going to be a few $100s. My realtor fees, my realtor association fees last year were $550. That's just my realtor fees. That's not my errors and omission insurance fees, which is another several $100s. It could be $1,000 or more dollars, depending on what brokerage you're with and how much they cover and what your deductible is. That doesn't cover, those charges are outside of business cards, which your broker may give you your first $250. But if you're giving out a lot of cards, $250 is going to last you less than a week. So you really need to order them by the thousand to have any appreciable dent in the community, getting yourself out there, creating your sphere. So you have your marketing fees, which is going to be your trifolds, your brochures, your postcards. It's going to be your direct mailers, your everyday direct mailers. It's going to be your promotional signs. It's going to be all those different pieces of promotional material that you have to get. And it's not a lot of money. Each one's independently not that much. Like, for example, you can get your cards on Vistaprint. It's like $10, $15, $20, depending on how many you get. It's not a lot of money. But when you add that money up, over all the fees you pay, you're going to have a few $1,000s of disposable cash money that goes right out the window that you're not going to get back anytime really, really soon. And you have to expect that and understand that that's the reality of getting into this business and any business. You can't get into any business with no money down and make $1 million in your first year. That's just insanity. And any one of you guys, if you're watching a coach or if you're watching one of the sales coaches or sales teachers that are on YouTube or on the internet that tell you you don't need to have a lot of money to get started, you should immediately delete that video from your memory banks and just throw away all the information. Because if that's the kind of crap they're telling you up front, then you can bet that most of the stuff they say following that is going to be blah, 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 not worth it. You need to have thousands of dollars up front, ready to spend for fees, associations, insurance, and marketing. It's just the reality of it. Sad to say, it sucks, but it's reality. Okay, so that's number 2. All right, now number 3. Number 3, you need to join a team. That's not true either. You do not need to join a team. Now, to be fair, joining a team would be helpful for your career because it'll expose you to more business. You'll be able to sit in on listing presentations. You'll be able to sit in on closings. You'll be able to have somebody that you can go to ask questions. How do I present an offer? What do I do in this scenario? Having a team helps in that you have another group of people that you're a part of that will help kind of bring you along. To be fair, though, if you join a good brokerage and you have a brokerage that's established and respectable, they probably have a mentor program already enacted that you can join. Like the company I'm with, we have a mentor program that goes over and does all that stuff for you. Now, the real benefit to a team, theoretically, is that that team has a well-known leader. And so when you say, I'm a part of XYZ's team, that's supposed to bring you some additional business because people are supposed to know them. If you go down the street right now and go to 10 random people and say, can you tell me the number 1 real estate team in the area? I would bet you that all 10, nobody would have any clue what you're talking about. They'd know real estate, and they might be able to name a real estate agent, their agent, but I doubt they'll be able to tell you who the number 1 team is, and they certainly would not be able to tell you the number 2 team unless you happen to ask another realtor. Just a reality. Teams are not well known. Now, I'm talking about my area and most of the areas around the country where I've been. That's not to say there's no teams that are well known. I'm quite sure there are some celebrity teams out there, some teams that are well known within their community because of how much they promote themselves. And that's great. If you get on one of those teams, good for you. But I'd say the wider majority, 99% of our country, teams are not going to matter. It's there as maybe an extra training tool, but you're certainly not going to pick up a ton of business just because you're on so-and-so's team. You're still your own agent. And at the end of the day, that client still has to hire you to list their house, or that buyer still has to work with you to help them buy the house. And so it doesn't really matter that much what team you're on unless you're going to be splitting your commission, which, by the way, when you join a team, you kick up some of your commission to the top over and above what you give your broker. So if you're going to join a team, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying really think out the positives and the negatives and see if it outweighs everything to make it worthwhile for you financially, and find out what that team does for oncoming agents that onboard them in a proper way. Do they have a training program in place? Do they provide leads for you? Do they give assists without fee sharing? Like some coaches or some mentors will do a fee sharing program where you'll cut them 10 or 20% of your commission in exchange for them helping you with the paperwork and helping you move through the sale. So you have to think about those things if you're going to get involved. So I'm not telling you that a team is a bad idea. I'm just telling you it's not necessary. I'm not a part of a team now, and unless I start one, I don't see any reason to change that anytime in the near future, because I kind of like keeping, the money that I make, I like to keep for me. I don't really need to kick it upstairs to anybody else. That's just my prerogative. You need to make your own decision. If you have questions on it, obviously you can hit me up anytime. So that's number 3. Number 4, you need to be full-time to make any money as an agent. Excuse me, I get my coffee. Not true. You do not need to be full-time. It helps. It certainly does help. It helps to be able to be out there on the road, pounding pavement every single day. But it's not necessary. A lot of agents start out part-time. A lot of agents have another job and they get started in real estate because they want to build a potential second or what could be a primary career for their future. Real estate is one of those amazing industries, and it's one of the reasons I love it so much. You can be a realtor in your 70s, 80s, and still be very active as a real estate agent. There's no real age limit on being a realtor. And it makes it a fantastic career because really the older you get, the better you are at this business. And it's very reliable. If you're in this business 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, you've got a good, reliable book of business. So I have a gentleman who I grew up with his kids, and I've known him my entire life practically since I was about 6 years old. I grew up with his kids. We played Little League together, and I still call him from time to time because he was a realtor. And when I talked to him last, I asked him, what are you doing now? Are you still in the business? Are you still, active? And he told me, honestly, John, right now, I really just deal with all just referrals. I have a few people who refer me business, and that's all I do. I don't really actively promote myself anymore because I don't have to. I'm retired now, semi-retired, so I do a few deals here and there, and it helps to supplement my income. That's fantastic. I mean, he's got a great life and he's very, very happy. So you can continue to do this business for a very long time and be very successful without having to go full time, which was the original premise of this whole thing. Full time just helps you be out there more frequently. But even part-timers can make a serious dent in the business by being diligent. So if you're only going to do it part-time, make sure that your hours are very diligently copied into your program and you get everything done well. Okay, so you can't, if you're only going to dedicate maybe 20, 25 hours a week, you can't waste those hours. You have to really, put the hammer down. So that's number 4. Number 5. Number 5 is my number 1 most hated thing in the whole entire world. And anybody who knows me knows that I'm like staunchly against this. And it is that you need to do a lot of cold calling to make money. Now, to be fair, I know a bunch of agents that do cold calling as their primary means of promotion, and they do very, very well at it. They're great at cold calling. It would never work with me if they were to call me because I don't buy things over the phone. I absolutely hate to be called and pitched over the phone. So for me, it doesn't matter who's calling me. It doesn't matter what the product is. It doesn't matter how good the deal is. I don't take sales calls on my phone. I just don't do it. That's me. I know a lot of people that are like me, though, in that you already are getting bothered on a regular basis. Your cell phone goes off constantly. If you guys are like me, you get news tips. You get updates on your phone, so I've got those. You get your messages to your phone, so I've got those. You get all sorts of information coming to you, and you're getting phone calls all the time just from your friends, your family, your sphere that you build. One thing I don't need is I don't need someone calling me in the middle of the day to pitch me an idea. If I want to do business with somebody, I'll seek them out. That's how I am. If somebody comes to the door, it's a little bit different. To me, coming to my door is putting out an effort. That's someone who's serious about growing their business, because it's very easy to sit at your desk and get a program like Vulcan and just have that be an auto dialer that just dials numbers. And every time you hang up, it auto dials the next number. That does not take a lot of effort to me. I feel like people who are cold calling are sitting back at a desk, eating a sandwich, and just kind of relaxing and running through a speech whenever someone answers the phone. I don't see that as someone who is integrated in the business. I don't see that as someone being hungry for the business. I could be wrong, and all you cold callers out there that are going to freak out at me saying this, I'm sorry, but that's my feeling. So I've been in professional sales now most of my adult life, 20 plus years. I don't think I've cold called anybody, like truly cold called anybody, in about 18 years. It's just not needed. It's not necessary. And in that time, I've been very, very successful in my sales career. And I'll go over one of those videos as well, because somebody actually asked me to do one. But cold calling is just not necessary. It's not that big a deal. If you're going to be going door to door, you're going to be handing out marketing materials, you're going to be meeting local businesses, you're going to be putting up your posters, you're going to be handing out business cards, you're doing all the work as it is. Cold calling, could it help? It could. Depending where you live, it could be very helpful. But I just see it more as a hassle. I see it more as a hindrance. That time that you would spend cold calling would be better spent if you got in your car, you drove to a neighborhood, you knocked on every door, and you introduced yourself in person and shook everybody's hand and said, I cover your area, and I'd like to have a conversation with you if you're interested in selling your house or buying one. So that's my opinion on that. All right, so those are your 5. Now, here's your bonus ones. There's 3. I said there was 2 in the beginning. There's actually 3 because I reminded myself for a second. Number 1 bonus, and this one came up my first day, right? My first day in the office. I have my son's name on my arm. I have actually several tattoos, but that's the biggest one and that's the most visible if I have my shirt sleeves rolled up like I do now, or if I'm wearing a short sleeve shirt, which I don't do in business. I don't know why people do that. I don't. That's just me. My first day in the office, another agent came up to me and said, you're going to want to cover that. People are scared of tattoos. It freaks them out. It's 2017. I can't imagine there's still a human out there that's scared of a tattoo. That just makes me laugh a little bit. But in any sense, I don't have it out. I don't wear short sleeve shirts to work. I don't go casual. I'm one of those old school agents. I believe in still wearing a shirt and a tie to work every day. I think that's the way we should present ourselves. We're supposed to be professionals, so we should present ourselves that way. That's my opinion. But I thought it was just funny that someone would tell me, oh, you can't have a tattoo showing. It's going to scare people. So that's myth bonus number 1. Myth bonus number 2. You have to constantly role play. All right. Now, I debated strongly with putting this in my top 5. I really did, because it's one of those things that every coach tells you over and over and over. Role play, role play, role play. You got to role play. You got to role play. Do role play. I don't do role playing. Now, to be fair, I did when I was younger. I trained in acting, so I hired an acting coach. and I learned how to do acting for commercials. I learned how to give a monologue. I learned how to do emotion changes. I learned all those different things. So I think that's beneficial for you, more so than role playing, because it gives you awareness of what you are doing and what you sound like and what you say. But role playing to me is just weird, because most of the time when you role play, the person you're role playing with is trying to beat you. They're trying to make things harder on you than conversationally would happen when you actually sit down with a client. So I absolutely hate role playing. I don't think it's necessary to do. If you're comfortable in your own shoes, then you should be just fine having a conversation with somebody. Because remember, when you go on a listing appointment, when you're doing your presentation, it's just a conversation. You're just talking to another human being that's really no different than you. The only difference is they have a product that you want to sell. So just be yourself, because that's who they're going to hire. If you've got a great speech that you learned from the internet or from one of these coaches, that's all fine and good. But if they interview enough people, they're probably going to hear that speech again. So now you don't really sound like you sound like them, or they sound like you. And either way, it sounds very canned. So be your own person. Just be yourself. And if you're not comfortable with public speaking, if you're not comfortable doing a presentation, I suggest hiring an acting coach and doing acting classes, hiring a public speaking coach and doing things that way, because that will get you more comfortable in front of strangers than doing role-playing will. So that's myth number 2. Myth number 3, and it's a big one, is that you need to have a college degree. That's moronic stupidity. You do not need a college degree. At this point, you really don't need a college degree for much. I don't have my degree. I was at Temple University, and I stopped before getting my degree to take a job that took me literally around the world, where I ended up as a vice president of sales. So you don't need to have a college degree. It may help in some instances, but I'm not a big fan of it. So those are the myths. Take them for what you will. If you have any questions, comments, anything, you can always put them down below. You can email me, you can text me, you can call me. As always, like, comment, subscribe, share the site, share my channel, and I hope you guys enjoyed the information. Thanks for watching. See ya.